소다르죠.
Now you're going to say the prayer on page number 8, page number 10, and we will say each verse in Tibetan 2 times, and in English 1 time. In English on page 7. I take refuge in the Guru. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. From now until my enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and causes. May all sentient beings be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from bias and attachment and anger. This ground, surrounded with perfume, strewn with flowers, Mount Meru, encircled by the four continents, surmounted by the sun and the moon, I visualize this Buddhahood worldwide. May all living beings enjoy the pure land. 이동 불로로 메다가 가메야다야.
로만 전시라. 로만 디테일을 주라. 10 동시나.
Okay. Now we will say the Tara starting with the verse, which is on the page number 74.
Tari dor su song le tan tan dong su gom jang su na cha ta. Da bang na sa song tin ja tong yo de de rong yin su chi ta mu pa ti chi ro ma.
So our main visualizations will be Tara, Mother Tara, or the Doma, or the Dharma, or the Tara. And when you say the mantra, you think of the whole sentient beings, and may all sentient swiftly recover, and also we all free from these the problems or the suffering or the disease.
Tore dono tamche derma so yom dare dare so om dare dare so om dare om dare so 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 dare so dare so 다래. 다래들에서 점점 나빠지니까 일단 난리
Oh,
ja.
좀 난내 갑자기 치잖아.
그거 손을 그거 봐서 근데 심한 딱 그런 장면이야. 야. 근데 그 부인은 고고 전박에 들어못. 그 다음부터는 막 돈이 듣고 있어.
My apologies for failed to connect to Skype in a while I was on the Zoom. So please forgive me. That's my fault.
야, 다 같은 조던데 막 동래 전주 제목 특징들아 가지고 섬진 먹그 섬진 따나양 나 딱녀라 때니 덕 성진이었던 게로시 전상 점비스기 다 시 자양 고이나 상사 신트 시발라 사원 정보 담나 러퍼 송상 교나 돈토정 zangam jongor thonde shangsa zambo la chechir chechi se patar samjin ki shangsa la shamhyangji shangchip ki semki shintik dije sawan jombo tamna lagpar songshang kyongna doni tharshin sanggi ki kompong jongor thonde samjin ki shanglang chechir tund shepi Anshan diwi yit ongwi namba chen tongni gyurshati jonjigli tabat donjona tane masoko pasoko jonjigil singsindo tabat ngap sabi 그때 인지
보이나랑 맞추지
보이는 좀 쉐트가 인지도나 가던 앞치지 있었습니다. 그쪽 지금 보이기 좀 쉐트.
아까 보이나 쉐트가 쉐트만 미스하잖아요.
요들 마오들다.
네네네네. 이렇게 삼잖아요. 야야. Okay. All right. So please go to your page, translation page 53. We're going to reread and verse. I believe we have done that. Avatar, Bodhisattva Avatar. Right? As the guide to Bodhisattva's way of life says, whenever I turn my gaze upon a sentient being, thinking, I shall fully awaken through depending upon these beings. I should look at her with the open-hearted love. Moreover, if, for instance, we plant healthy seeds in an extremely fertile against marauders, we will reap bountiful harvest. And second this, we will up our fine field with a great care. Likewise, having planted the potent seeds of love, compassion, the awakening mind, the 6 transcending perfections, and the 4 means of amazing disciple in the field of sentient beings. If we look after them well, they will give rise to the state of fully awakened beings. A transcendent subdue, fulfilling the 2 purposes of selves and others. Understanding this, we will take great care of the field of sentient beings, and seeing them as pleasing, as attractive, we will
그 라송 단데 가르스구나 적당하니 아주 샴당 형지 상지 삼 공부를 소네 샴당 형지 상지 삼 참아니 전 적당 이 사원 니와도 좀 알아 랑기라 요르다 용 요르다 이나한테 기울시 바 총시 바 니와도 전한테 종교자 어때 삼로 당진에 아니 섬지 전달라 뭐 통해도 섬진다 따나야지 뭐그 전 통용 없어 너가 탐질라 때네 땅아 망원아 노벌 좀 상기고래 이제 대사단 너가 탐질당이 진진이 인체가 아니 지금 땅아로 리 짐바보도 천년도도 놀롱수 짐바보도 신들라이 같은 친구 파마 도망 버지로다 요 름비르 빙왕 좀 상기와라요 너가 탐질라 때네 샴당냥지 상지 섬곰지니 저바 탐지용수도 버는 상기고래 이제 근데 삼로 땅아이나 텐디치리다 샤비스기타 진에 심진파 통용소 텐디 같은치 텐디 양즈 곰바이나 아니 강이즈메 빠른 아주 상사 장보주요나 데라 아니 사원다바이나 사원때 역고종 농촌 분수 촉바 소소를 종류와 통해도 미주 타마게 이 상당때 사원때라 상사때라 묵식 도고야 따토제 요로와 어디 나진 아니 심진 탐진때 내가 알아두고 상사다고 주지 데라 때는 알아도 형지 땅 샤마 형지 그 사원다바이나 telate ngaro zun leo tobe sanji ju kompo demi yong sabe sanji ju kompo top top yo ba to ha kwai na ani semjing ga rentong te ha ko gore ste ja semjing ga katun da rentong ha ko na rangjing sem nang ne pha jewa chim bo yong gore o ta no dina tse to bom ja tang ro tse gore
well, the verse we just read, or the just read, in fact, is about teach us how to meditate, how to integrate the spirits, or the essence of the paragraph into our actual meditation practice. Here, how it goes. Essentially, we know that the loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, in mind, is essentially because our goal is to attain the liberation, and so then the thing is we have the seeds, right? We have the seeds to attain the Buddhahood and to liberate ourselves from samsara and help others to reach the perfect enlightenment. However, without depend upon others, these seeds will never be able to produce an actual result. So our bodhicitta, or the essential sort of sense of love, kindness, compassion, intention, or the altruistic intention to attain Buddhahood, and you can resemble with a seed in the field. For example, the owner of the piece of field who has the seeds, but then upon to having the seeds, then just have the seeds and itself is not enough, and the owner know that how important it be able to produce a fruition and turning into an actual result. So therefore, and as the owner of the property, what the land, the field, he or she definitely will cherish the field very much. So this means once you have this, realize the great value of the kindness, compassion, loving, kindness, and the awakening mind, then you need to turn into the field of the reach, the absolute reach, and the essential field of the sentient being. So that's why the Sentient Diva here says, whenever I gaze, right, when I gaze the sentient and turn my gaze upon the sentient being. So thinking, I shall be fully awakening through depend upon this being, right? And I shall look at her with open-hearted. Because without sentient being, as we repeatedly discussed the last time, and there's no way and you can really do anything. For instance, like right lifetime body being given as the result of somebody else. So your physical body is being is as gift given by somebody else. And then when you grow up, all the things you have achieved or you enjoyed, such as like a wealth and a reputation, friendship, and your status or whatever. So it's all depend upon and because of others. So in one way or other is related to others. So this is the truth and this is the reality of this, and realize this is the case, and then you will never, and this is the reality of this, and realize this is the case, and then you will naturally look at all the beings with the eyes, and then that sort of filled, and fulfilled with and just like the at this point, it's like a smart and wise the owner of the field and or a farmer who would really cherish one's the field or the dirt and the place he or she is going to seeds and produce a result. So we here we are thinking of and try to attend the Buddhahood, and for the benefits of all sentient self is the most number one benefit at this point for others, and we as the benefits of ourselves as byproducts, but that's all these are considered depend upon others. So therefore, meditate on this, understand this, and then meditate on this as greater value is the essence of what Shenchi just said.
This is Semjishang Dong, Yavishang Shi Tapi Songs. The Turkey Sha Mango Shi, the Pinsum Paroshins, Semjin Namton Yawali, Sanji Chidun Dawala, Yawakishi Division, Semjin on the G Tils, Sambi Rangi Mans, and Dante Garso, Jonji Chimonona Garsona, Sanji Jumden de Son Yoris, Semjin and Yawani La and Caprio Maris, Gonzina Soso, San Yorshipala. Gurshipi, Yawanamla, Chobershiba, Simjinala, Mapersina, Rongo Mare, Gonzina, Aron, Sonum, Sosoni, and the Parsi chicken on the Moncha, Simjilatini, Dugor, Simjilatini, and it'll be Tasham Yanji Kisa, the Shambal, Simjilatini, Yungor, Sanjilatini, the Yungomar. Jimbaton Satum from the Moncho, the Chatong, the Tarsini, Sanji, Gobon Tobershipi, Nita, and the Simjilatini on Tani. Sanji Chidum Dawala, the Sanjila, as Consola Tapajan, Central Liga, Tigores, the Jena, Yavikishi Division, Sanjila Kiwach Shibanons, the Semjinala, Jimis, and Semjinala Garchin, one of the Chichon Saga, Sanjitan Semjigaiba, Daucha, the Tinsadani, this some Tongores, or that the Shigur.
Then here, the guide to the Bodhisattva's way of life says, therefore, anyone has stated that there are the fields of sentient beings have thereby reached perfection. Since the qualities of full awakening are derived from sentient beings and conquerors alike, how can we act respectfully toward conquerors and not toward sentient beings? We should not foster such an attitude. However, to show how much we reverence them or her or him, but in general, we not give it equal attention, equal respect, and considerance of the sentient beings. From Shantideva clearly tells us, made the argument, say, yes, so we want to attain Buddhahood, and this only can be happened from two aspects, okay? And by relying, one source is an enlightened being, Buddha, with us, right? Or in other words, so our happiness and the excess of a spiritual enlightenment is dependent upon the one hand, as one aspect of it is one source is Buddha, right? And at the same time, also sentient beings, they are equally important. Here's the reason. And to attain Buddhahood, you have to achieve the great perfection of the six perfections, right? Prajna Paramitas. Among those six great perfections, and those five of them as considered as skillful means, or upaya, the method, and they are absolutely need to be developed in the best of someone to exercise that or practice that or to reach the perfection of generosity. Of course, that you need sentient being, because you cannot really doing that by Buddha, because Buddhas and the enlightened ones, they do not need you express that kind of devotion to them. There's no need for them. But the sentient beings are in another hands do need so the your material support and your expression of giving and generosity. So see there, you just depend upon Buddha and enlightened one, you cannot reach the great perfection of generosity. And secondly, to achieve the great perfection of moral ethics, again, you cannot achieve this goal just by expressing your great devotion to Buddha and enlightened ones. But you do need to restrain yourself and prevent anything that's the non-virtuous by depend upon the sentient beings, right? So your field of the perfection, the practice of perfection of morality, moral ethics is the sentient being. And the next is tolerance, right? Or patience. So patient Prajna Paramita, great perfection, again need other sentient being. It's no more sentient being. It's not an enlightened one. And so similarly, like the practice of joyful perseverance, it depends upon the other sentient being. And they are the field of or object for you to perfect it, for you to practice it. And similarly, the meditation. So all these are the five of them as a means and or as the method is heavily or entirely dependent upon sentient beings. And they are the actual object for you to perfect. So therefore, it is a great thing to express your respect. To do whatever you can and to express that how much you admire the Buddhas and enlightened ones and their kindness, compassion, and enlightened deeds. And that's the great thing to do. At the same time, and as a Mahayana followers, we cannot ignore or forget that sentient being at this very point is not as is equally as important as Buddhas.
다치 원자로 그 감지나 당부배 나랑도 나 세트 가지고 다 투만 버닝 나랑 선나가 지원 진도도 나 차더라 나 세트 단지 손나 공선은 나 이거 말다 세미단도 로트고요 말 나 세트 데키 보기 요래 능인도고 말에 나세 용사 데키 용사가 자와로 가르래 파잖아 나랑도 리데지 리데라 때는 농초지 때라 때는 천년다 좀 아주 데키 용사 자와다 뜻이 자다 레드가 ते सत्य समतन ओले त लीड ता गाने योंगारे त फाचारा लीड तंगबो 용사데 파마니 레트니 용 진짜 파마니 소소 리 짐바브에서 파마니 티 같은 셈볼 기능네 하버트 아마 넘버스니 마스미제 담지세데 아마트 같은 셈볼에도 아마트 같은 셈보 간다 예르지나 아마티 나로도 코파노나 다와 골라페 틴디 짐다레 코코나 커데 나로도 직당 안에 지금 스부공라 춘준지가 그래다나 같이 가는 저거 놀라는 거잖아. 정말 코페나 그런다. 대치네네. 텔라 안에 코페나 크로자 뭐 마스 뭐 텔라페 소경진이 텔라지 차tul 냠보다 직들이 그 뭐베 그런 거 산도베 칼라트 마세 진도베 샤와트 참아가네. 송자지 되게 송집진이 아니 진이 바케 케르스도 같이 강리와다. 아마도 친구와 어떤지 바뀌용서 드네 정도 기르스도 안 가게 가게 시 말든 도도 샤도도 주리 우지 얼마도 드네지라 바 소중진이 야야 지리지 님친 메라 주직 잡질라베 요기 지니 저거 성마존네 드네 진행 알아도 다 전부 잘 전부 전에는 야로 심질레온 로 심질레온 수더니 알아도 시시게 사통 그 참아 시게 말도 차동을 말을 공부 약동네 동데 가짜라 던진데 네 람바야 자롱증요 자롱증요 때니 알아도 비 지금 같이 땅땅 지리지 땅지 등이 로통 차동 질랍지 아니 야다 로 좋아하는 실례고 들이 자도다 소소 지금 그런 거로 돈이 온 거죠 때니 망보 그 파마지로 때 배드나 너도 모르와 어떻게 삼노 땅에는 파마 때문에 돈이 며칠 니나다 안 신데 파마니 때 같은 친구를 랑라 자신 보이 바티용 지용 삼바이나 리용사 때니 그 정공들이 다 때니 리탈라 때니 아니 소소라 다 노롱주용 거 중국 다 지 조비 차로 마즈 용도 노롱주 때 강내 종 때때라 때전고 지니 점바지 총바다 망보 그 깔리 잡지니 아니 길용 거 사마 칼라사이나 페는 제도 독치기나 때페 상와 망보 그 깔리 잡니 지니시 총바모 야람 안르만드 제니 콘데지니 아니 말아도 칼레고 되지 네 권지를 사지 참아래 아니 가도 차이년장 용사 때 근데 용어를 좀 잘랐더니 용어 말아도 또 시식이 온든 참아 얘한테 뭐먹고 그 길레 아니 르비칼이 자니 온 땅아도 암도나를 때 말아도 무슨 거 좀지 때 르비지니 말아도 지다 망아라지 톱 때지 용서 아니 잘랐더니 용어도 놀롱 줘서 차이년장 참아 젠차다 때 참아 임바 sem나 야고 주삼노 땅니 지나 아니 내기 때 강니 연구도 내기 참아 전 연구도 전때 전에다 전 사정 소수 파만이 쪼지네 아니 소소다 년콜라 요병 아주 내기 용사 멍쳐 타랑 보즈 심지 담비 콜라 요 아주 내기 용사 멍쳐 타랑 보즈 요말 트니오지나 아주 제대로 때 삼노 땅네 근데 지나 근데 무슨 소바 근데 지나 yes. Tout you know. Oh, my.
All right. So here you hear echo?
Yes, Tenzin, I think you may have to mute the Zoom so that you can let only the Skype go.
I'm not on the Skype.
Oh,
I failed to be. It took a long time. I couldn't get a Skype on. Working.
then maybe there's that Skype and Zoom on at the center.
Probably, yeah, that's probably is. How can they do this? Tambala, Gerald one is where the way.
Didi internet sir.
Jackie, it was okay, right? It was good. Yeah.
It was okay, right? It was good.
What do you want to say, Minfei?
No, I think it's Michael. Michael, you have to mute your Zoom.
Oh yeah, Michael's on. Yeah. Okay. Is it good? All right. Yeah, that's good. Okay. All right. Thank you, Minfei. Okay. Nga chusun parane. Check the man dagi one hola gandi jila lawyer timbuzeli.
노요 말.
Yes, okay. Here's the thing. We are saying that our main goal, actually our ultimate goal in the essential is meditating, right? And meditating on or to practice meditation. So let's say here we are going to practice meditation. What are you going to meditate on, right? What's the purpose of it, right? Our purpose is that through the meditation to root out, right? Root out the roots of the samsaric suffering. What is the root of the samsaric suffering? The root of the samsaric suffering is the misperception of the self. In other words, it's I, or me, or I am, the sense of this misperception of I, misperception of the concerning the identity of our individuality, right? In fact, you may sound this is very philosophical, and the tones or the language is too philosophical. Actually, it's not, right? You just put it in the actual, let's say, our real life experience. Among the entire universe, within the entire universe, what is the most important thing to you? What is really you consider is absolutely crucial to you? Of course, there's only one thing. That's your sense of who you are, right? Your sense of I. So yes, there's nothing else. You can say value, or you can say this and that. But innately, right? If you follow your innate, the sense of being, and among all the existing phenomena, and the most important is you, or your sense of I. That's it. So then follow that innate sense of I, and you naturally have this tendency. You want to be happy, right? And so you want to achieve the happiness. But the question is where the happiness can come from, right? What's the source and where is it originated? When you ask this question, right? And again, this is not philosophy. It may sound like we're talking is a philosophical sort of discourse. Actually, it's not. The happiness we from our own experience, right? We know that first of all is coming from first it comes from related to our body. So our physical body, right, is the source or the origin of our happiness. That's number one, the source. Number two source is our wealth, right? The material wealth, our material possessions. That's the source of our happiness. And then next is our reputation, our sense of who we are and our good name, right? And the sense of achievement. So your body and your material wealth and your reputation, that's including your social relationships and your possessions and so on and so forth, all that you concern. The three things are the sources of or the origin of your happiness. But then this happiness, when you're looking into these three sources, and one by one, let's say start with your body, physical body. So the source of your happiness is your body, but where your bodies come from, right? As we discussed earlier, your body is it come from your parents, right? And especially your mother, right? That's like in Buddhism, we always say the mother sentient being. Right? Your mother is particularly important is because again, it's not a philosophical discourse. It is a reality. It is what we know for for sure. That is when you get pregnant, right? And so your mother is the one who capture you with great care in her womb for a period of 9 months pregnancy. And meanwhile, right, she kept you not only safe, but nurtured you. And in order to really taking greater care of you and make sure that you growing and properly, right, and harm-free, and she has to be very careful with her behavior and each movement she makes, and and try to avoid not be too hot and not too cold, and make sure that they physically not being too violent, and with a tremendous care. And of course, that after when you grow and a little bigger, and then physically, she has to experience this great sense of a heavy and hard to the burden, the carrying. So if it's we know that the weight, right, your body, and if you carry something, for example, just a bag, right, your backpack. If you take the backpack on your back, so let's say you take it like 9 months, right, or long time, that after a while you feel that's the burden is really difficult, correct? So, but our mother, right, had to enduring all these sufferings, right, and for the period of 9 months, and then so we know to the end of when you are ready, right, or when the due day comes, and she has to again go through the process of tremendous pain of labor, the process of labor. And that itself is a tremendous suffering. But again, for the sake of giving you a birth, right, that you relate to the source of your happiness, that's your body. And now, then you look into the wealth, right? By the way, yes, your mother doing that, right? And so you're born, and when you first are born, and you just like forgive my language, it's like actually it's a piece of sort of meat, right, or flesh, because you really can't function, you can't really survive at all. But it was your mother, your parents, who began to taking care of you. It's not just whenever they like, but rather it's 24/7. They have to sacrifice a tremendous their own life and their pleasures, their convenience, and but dedicates the life to you. And then it took you to right, of course, feed you and right, nourish you. And then when you reach the age of 3 and 4, and then teach you how to say the language, speaking, and how to taking care of yourself, and all the basic survival skills, right? And then you reach the age where you can walk in and start learning how to walk in, and of course they will very closely watching you and guiding you through that period of most vulnerable time. And then you grow up, and then you go to school, and so they can prepare you for school and do everything what they can, and to make sure and your school life is right age like 20, and then you left the home and you go by yourself, right? But at that point, generally speaking, we tend to forget our parents. We deeply digging into our new social friendship or social networks, and wherever we are, sort of had to get into, or we formed a relationship with. So at that point, most likely we will not really remember our parents or think of them, but we focus on our own self. And but when you look at this, and you forgot and whether their kindness was the source of all your success and up onto that point in the age of 20. And then let's move on to second source of your happiness. That is the material wealth, or the things you possessing, right, materialistically. So, and so anything, you know, in the you possess is the label or the productions of result of other people's label and their work. And for a very simple, give you a very simple example. For example, you eat rice, right? And in your bowl of rice, there's one single gram of your rice actually is related to somebody's hard work. Okay, somebody has to go to work and put things in and then nourish it and keep it growing up and then harvest. And finally, took it to the market and then transport to the store and then you buy it, right? So just a single gram of the rice, it took many other people's work, and then finally come to your mouth, right? And then become your food, the food on your table. So, and then the clothes. Think about the clothes you're wearing, right? A piece of cloth you're wearing, that's again, this started with the planting and then the collecting, and then come to, and right, become a material, and then somebody is tailor it and the sewing, and then place into the marketplace or the department store, and then you buy in purchase, and you wear it. All this again took a tremendous amount of time of others. It depends on others' work. And finally, our reputation. That's the source of our happiness, or a reputation is a good name is the source of our happiness. This happiness, let's just focus on one single aspect of it, that is education or knowledge, right? Your education and your knowledge, and you achieved or you are using the skills and the knowledge which you developed, right? You use it and it is support you and make you feel you are someone else, right? And you feel importance and you feel empowered. But when you look back, right, and the way you become a knowledgeable, right, a skillful person, right, you appreciate who you are, is depend upon somebody else. And then that person is your teacher, right? Start from elementary school, the middle, and the high school, all the way to college. So your knowledge, your skill is the result of somebody else's hard work, and that was your teachers. Right? So when you look at this and very carefully and make honest reflections and about others, and then a relationship between your achievement and your happiness with others, you will naturally see that oh yes, that my all the happiness and the things I achieved really is depend on others. So therefore, this clear understanding, right, and this honest reflection will naturally make you feel that when we think about a sentient being, it's not that far, right? It's not somebody who's far away, strangers, and sort of you have to look in and go find them. Actually, through the things which you enjoy, right, from your body, right, others just naturally there, right next to you. And then when we think about the material possessions that you own, right, you enjoy, again, just right away is related to reputation, right? And right away is related to others. So this meditation through this way, and you can develop the kindness and compassion and easily.
또 정말 용 샴바다라서 그저 대체로 일하고나도 그런 거네 파쇼 때로 소소 파마니 zonde 내던 게 저섬지 간다 간다 대화당 된다 소소나 가와요 아니 고조라 능을 지용만 때려 전도지 사바냥지 기게 어떤지 기어도 섬나 가와당 냥지 때는 아니 섬나 냥지 기어서 파쇼라로 지야라 그런 거 지금 아주나 kallichiga yamango rangzhin gichi semna batsuji soso rangila shabkishina kadiji tawana pashola tanga sitewa niwad rimbi semna niwad chungwa ane shambad yona kaji ngazu kati na pashokte neki tsimzu chogo yongna su semna soso ina kibu pashokte kibu yongwa te tongyo soso semna rangzhin gi chuwazi kiyongwa te mato ngazu di chapti wadin loni chadok kiyongwa chadok kiyongwa pashola neki yongna soso dingi yongwa te machichi pashola neki yongna 소소 semnanga tela katin chembo ba yitangwa samongso tela tene jisirang semji jisirang tena semna gawa kiyong te sa tedi yang jem samde gomda ane shamda yang ji yila kiyong shamda yang ji yila kiyong so tene rangjin tamjin da chanyam chikpayin ba o ta dewando ba chikpa dengan mendo ha ngazu chama chikpayin sambe samlu tende ji pa chanyam semnanga thobe wa na tene rebi yang de ko ta hakpe sa ba rangli jin jiong zbi lot kiyong Deli rang jiwon zbi lo kyong so asimji tamchi ning 하나다 능을 용 능을 자나 대화당 다나 삼비 삼로즈 마도 온 거다 타페 삼바 kyong so 능을 제고 뭔데 대화당 대고 능을 대화당 담바치 왔던 이 지긴 심지 tam치라 이 지긴 때지야 쳇다 땅랑 몸을 두고 성기긴 다 삼로 되고 때물도 심지 tam치 능을 저를 저월시비 몸을 두고 몸을 뒤챘던 몸을 두고 성기긴 셈에 삼로데 상시 셈세고라 상시 셈결라 계속나 그런 런이 상시 셈바 차송 대자다 상기 좀 된데 나랑도 심진 로이던데 아니 그런 거 병원에서 야시 용수도 막 방네 리동수 용수 뭐 여기 야시 동지요 세동 점모 동지와 방네 아니 배 송네 깔리 잡네 로트 가와체네 드리지 타망 몸을 두고 성기네 아니 그런 거시 연던데 건배 지진 것도 파 드니 봐 전에 나랑도 다다 버 캡데도 그선 그 트지라 전에 정도로 와 어때저가 안에 샘진도 상지 탐지기 지튼 샘나 양지 지스 담바잖아 안에 소소랑 그 검대 양지 검지다 안에 소소 기부 초 첸들라 기부 시시마라 지부 드라이용와 년능와 안에 디덕나마 탐지 내기용 그래서 다 대자 양지 나랑도 지 조지 장의 쇼지나 맞이나 양지 소소 샘나 지지 당도 뜻 넘버 못 들었어
Yes, so we need to really repeatedly and go through the process of this kind of analytical meditation over and over, right? And to really sort of place our own heart on the actual the object of our meditation. So we have to do this repeatedly and consistently and all the time. And so the focus is again, when you are on the process of this analytical analysis, right? The kindness of all sentient being, right? And you must through this and reach the point that to really make yourself fully convinced, right? Your happiness is absolutely dependent upon others. In other words, without others, the kindness of others is undeniable, right? Absolutely crucial. And so you need to get this point, right? If you get this point, even just through the analytically or in theoretically in your head, right, conceptualize this and really get yourself see the actual point, and you might and really successfully do this meditation well, then you can naturally experience what we call as the sense of attractiveness of others. the sense of attraction or attractiveness of others. This means that by reflecting upon others and see how others important, a great value of others, and then you will bring this closeness, the sense of intimacy, right? Sense of closeness and intimacy and attractiveness. You feel others are very, very attractive actually, and it kind of takes your heart into them, or you can bring them in your heart. Just feel so close. Why? Because you know how dear they are and how important they are and how much kindness you owe them. They owe you, and you owe them. So this is yes, the analytical meditation or the reflective meditation, and by doing through this this way, and you will develop the closeness and the sense of closeness and sense of the intimacy with the others, right? And then what is the good thing about this, right? So this sense of closeness, sense of intimacy will make others very attractive and very dear to you. And by doing that, by reach this point, and so now, right, with this having in your mind, and then when you go out, when you see anyone or up or hear anyone and see anyone who is really enjoying life, who is doing so successful and very happy and looks very much doing very well, your attitude is that you are happy. You are very happy for them. You will sincerely rejoice, say, "Wow, what a good thing! So nice, good for you, and I'm so happy." You would have this naturally, have this sense of rejoice their happiness, right? So because you have this closeness, you have this intimacy, a sense of they are very dear to you, right? And at the same time, what happened is if prior to this meditation or before that you practice meditation, reach this point, our basic attitude is like this. Whenever we see somebody or other friends, even the family among the family members, when other people doing so well, very successful, they're doing sort of better than you, right? Or achieved so much than you did, and our natural feeling is instead of really sincerely, genuinely feel happy and rejoice, we will experience some kind of bitterness, right? Some sense of jealousy, and as if we take it as a threat, right? Something kind of challenges us, right? And when we just hard to really and naturally feel that's a great thing and very happy and genuinely and feels so happy for them. In fact, here's a tricky thing, and like I said, if you meditate on this and the kindness of others, right, and the great value of others, and how much they contribute to you, your success, right, and then develop, if you then develop this closeness, right, intimacy. If you do not do this, what happens? Other people's success will become the source of your pain, your suffering, right? They achieve their goal, they're so happy, right? And so now they become your pain and your suffering. So look, so this is such a weird thing, right? So therefore, it is important to do this honest reflection and understand what is true, what is real, right? And then develop this closeness and the sense of the dear and love for all of them. So this way, there's no way you can experience jealousy or any negativities, right? And in fact, so others are achieved, they're so happy, and you are actually happier, right? You could be happier than anyone, and without doing anything, right? And you just naturally feel so joyed and so fulfilled, and a sense of the joy that just sort of naturally really happen and arise in your heart because of you develop this sense of closeness, right, and intimacy. And doing this, and so then yes, so now you achieve this closeness, right, and then you can concern it. You always consider that how can I contribute more, bring more happiness to them, right? And how can I do something that improve their lives? And you will get this strong that sense of loving kindness for them. And this will further take you to develop the compassion, right? So, oh, you see others suffer, you want to, right? And so articulate and take the freedom from the sources of the suffering, and you will do and try whatever you can, right? And so this basic reflections and or the analytical meditation, right? Even at the conceptual level and theoretical level, will bring you to what we call the equanimity. It gives you the sense of equal, sense of the sameness, right? And yes, so you are with the equanimity, and then and by being that equal and the absolute the same in the here, then you can move on and to achieve the next. That is the pure the altruism, right? The pure intention or altruism. Altruism is here that you really now, instead of focus on others, instead of focus on you, you shift your attitude from focus your own interest. Now you shift the attitude to focus on others' interests. So this is the altruism, and this is the pure intention. Right? And so next you move on. So you yes, you take the others, more important others, right? You take the others as the so you shift this self-importance to others' importance. This will give you the courage and the reason and the purpose, and now you determined you want to do something or do whatever you can and to help others by the means of attain Buddhahood, to achieve the perfect enlightenment for that, to fully free all sentient beings from the suffering and the sources of the sufferings they're experiencing. So this is the bodhicitta, and this is the awakening mind. So you develop the awakening mind now, right? So by awakening and develop this awakening mind, meaning that it's determined, right, and to attain the Buddhahood for the benefits of all sentient beings, and now you become from ordinary being, you become bodhisattva. The mind which you developed, you generated, you developed in your the continuum of your consciousness is a bodhicitta, is awakening mind. So you are from that point onwards, you are bodhisattva. Whatever you do is bodhisattva deeds, and we know we can do it because we have a good example, a perfect example. That is the Buddha Shakyamuni or Siddhartha Gautama. Siddhartha Gautama, right? And he was a very privileged individual. He was a prince. We had all kinds of luxuries, right? And very wealthy, and all kinds of material privileges, and he enjoyed. However, and by practicing the same process which we described, right, and by reflecting upon the importance of the happiness and the sources of happiness and the relationship to others, right, all other sentient beings, and then develop this kindness and loving kindness, compassion, and determined to attained Buddhahood by means of bodhicitta, and then finally Buddha determined, right, and give up all he had or all he possessed, such as like a palace, his great royal title, and including his family, and so he quit and he announced everything. He went to set off and went to the forest in a remote area and practiced 6 years austerity, or the hardship and austerities, and finally, he attended Buddhahood and become a Buddha. And so we all can do this, right? Eventually, we all will become a Buddha because that's how Buddha did. But let's take this just focus on today's reality ourselves, right? And the benefits of practice and the meditation and what we just described, and even if you're not that much sort of care about the ultimate goal of this practice, that is Buddha, just consider the immediate benefits for your day-to-day life. Today's life itself is immense. Why? Because by developing this closeness, right, and the bond of the sense of a sense of it, and the cherishment for others, right? And you will make no enemy, right? When you go out, you will not really offend somebody, or you will hurt no one, and make yourself an enemy-free person, right? And at the same time, actually, you will naturally make a lot of friends, and you will make others just somehow feels very close, or some way you are someone, and they just feels special, or something that's very unique in you, and so this itself will give you a strong sense of happiness, and yes, sense of yourself is, and the life and of you as an individual person is quite remarkable.
Oh yeah, 아주 이 자리 바깥에 나들보데 공지와서 좋아요나 땅치라.
Oh yeah. So now we have a little time, and I would say, and thank you very much for those scientists and the engineers. Because of them, you see, we can see each other, and we can face to face, and and we can take advantage of this technology. So I open the floor to all of you, and if you like it, and I'll ask any questions, please go ahead. 근데 담발라 컨트롤디 줌이나 영나 되게 차트 세션도와 차트라 때다 진짜 미카지 차트 배웠던 거래. I try to tell Venerable Dambala, so if people want to use the chats and the Zoom, they also can send a question, and I don't know the Skype. Akunga. Okay. I'd like to ask maybe, let me see. Hold on a second. Chizo. Akunga di maybe just 지금 내가 없어도 뜻이 되는 요한도. 이제 요한 매.
잡수가 좀 자.
So the question is, going on, I know this is very controversial because me and my daughters debated the day and night. It's about the racism and it's going on, a situation in the United States and actually across the world now, almost in many countries. And so the question is, from Buddhist point of view, we talk about this right, loving kindness, compassion, and so how, So now she said that she will ask. Before she was shy, and now she said she will ask. Okay, yeah. This one. 거기다 지난 비교는 인지나 지난 비교도. 나도 말 거기는 아쿠가 지야다 지금 인지나 줘.
진짜 됐을래?
근데 저래. 아까 아리 맞을 남치 버리다나 네 연재 마지막에 게 친구와 네 참마 직과를 생겨와 로아 아군가
그래요.
이네요 기생한 수다 자각 아리나 kunsu ringni pe ke meri yaje kare chabar je pe ke chimbu tsingwa nen chamchang ansu kate ha ni chom ni re sena kunsu chwa lan dang di tungi mendwa this new kande dewa ji wore
뭐래죠?
dilana kuwa bususa
네, 파 여고 가지 지나 차 그거 여고 지금 뭐 하면 뭐.
di marido manzu nongchini chong nga jiparo niya kunzu choncho indi nga chaboyore nga
게 지금 뭐 봐도.
nga kechum nga mari nga ni shando ni sambo chiboro yin manzu ga shosho gi samsu kyona kunzu nga chong la chonjo dangyo samjoro dang injinado. Okay, so this is my question. It's a little complicated, but I was saying, like, you know, as for in a Buddhist perspective, we view everyone as equal human beings, right, of equal treatment, right? We're all one human race. However, for places like the United States, where people are raised here, they have a very set mind thinking of like, I'm my race, or I'm my identity that has been given to me by society. So when we deal with those people, how do we approach them with, you know, like I might view you as my human brother or sister, but they might interpret that as, oh, you're ridiculing me and like not paying attention to the issues that I face because of my identity, because they've grown up with that mindset and being treated differentially because of that. So like, how do we approach those situations?
그래, 딱 당보 같이 너라 신기전 덕건도 찍내라 찾게 봐 소치진도 랑매 봐이 이러네. 당보 가라도 뒤참하게 자위 용산로 나서네 중국 나서야 돼. 나서야 냠때더니 녜시네. 땅니 중아 용ጥ더니 질릭이 잡을 안에 뜨멍 좋아가지고 공무원 드시지 공무원 준다는 거 잡으려는 걸로 때때네 내 나당 아이원 집에 오는데 아이원 좀 따와지고 따와띠한 거 아니 맞아 something 대자당 아주 남지 저쪽은 가 심리년 로안부터 심고서 니 남지 시기요 당부 말아도 서비스 섬지도 대화도 받은 등면도 받지 빠인 받던 섬나 소속이 섬나 지든도 싸와 좀 거래지 좀 동네 고만이와도 야를 수도 섬지 탐지기 싸움도 물바 감동 미와 안에 지금 리종도 대대근데 만라와 요왔대 가도등 yap등 가도등 안에 지금 차 탐지라 만라와 임바때 셈나 좀 거래대 만라와 있나 찍질라 텔라 때문에 아니 소수리 밥이주다 기습진이 듣는 용어가 남카도 조고 그래지 어떤 이가 요나 안에 저 속간다가 섭터와이나 야고 리베 델랑은 로터와지 떠마도 전에 나랑도 차버 했던 요를 때 짜위 나중도 홍보를 잘라 차버 매비 차치 요를 때 기와 등 안에 시와 때 나랑도 식과 집중을 상말로 기와를 기와 담아 시와 니와 때 나랑 대화도 받아 능모도 셈도 집밖에 안 야, 공부니와 야원수 만다와라. ዝ고 차이나라 가시랑 뭐 통통 야 뭐 많이 봐줘. 따뜻 참아 차님 용구잖아. 남은 용 도와주고 말. 남은 용 못와. 때 자때 용 못와 때 인진 지위고 엔지질라 기술진이 로트와다. 저쪽도 내랑는데 로트고 등이 남짓 삼기요.
Yes, it is a practical question. So this is how I think. And essentially, or the first thing is first, and I think we have to acknowledge that how we are doing, right, in terms of our understanding of ourself and other. So we always start something and either is directly or indirectly, right? And openly or sort of in hidden, right? And start with our own, I or my. So, and this sense of I and my is the source of, or the way how you're forming, how you're sort of determining and identifying it, determine the outcome. Right? And so this sense of self is the source of the religious difference. It's made the difference in religion, and it made the difference in the lifestyle. It made the difference of one's rule or the importance or the values of self in society in any given situation. But we have to know our sense of self, I, essentially is belong to the one of the 5 aggregates. That's the perception. Okay? The aggregates of perception. Is, in other words, is essentially is a conceptualization. So it's a concept. And because of this concepts, and then when I as concepts is developed, then immediately comes the second thing that relates to this concept of I, or perception of I, that is the mind. Right? The things that relate to me. That is my religion, my property, and my country, my race, and my rights, and so on and so forth. You name it. Right? So this is the reality. This is how it formed. If we look back to the source, how we started this issue of races, right? That's how it comes. But now the solution, how we solve this, right? What is the remedy? I personally believe there's 2 ways we can overcome this problem. First, we have to firmly believe, and make sure we're absolutely clear and to the point that we firmly believe and knew that by no means, everybody without the exception and desire for happiness, looking for happiness. No question. That's the absolute truth, number one. Yes, at the same time, no one want to experience a slightest suffering or pain. So we must theoretically and in our concepts and our mind make sure this first thing is always within us, within us, and we are implementing, or we are sort of start off everything which we do, we think, and start with this number 1 step, first step. Okay? Just believe, just know for sure and clearly that everyone wants happiness and no one wants to suffer. This will help to reduce the trouble related to racism, at least in the individual level. The second step, or secondly, what do we do? And it can help us to overcome the sufferings or problems of racism. That is, we must again acknowledge and be sure we understand and be clear when that's the case. That is, we are, regardless of the skin color, but essentially we all, even though we are same in many cases. For example, we all have to go through the process of birth, same, right? We all do not want suffering, want to be happy, the same. We all the process aging, same. We all have to face in the death, right? And all this are the same. But it doesn't mean we're not. There's no difference between us. There are clearly a difference, right? The difference regarding our belief system, a different belief regarding our personality, and different interests, and the different personality, right? And the different sense of who they are, and all this is there. We must acknowledge it, respect all these differences are there. Right? Just say there's a difference, and that's it. Right? We cannot overcome. We can reduce lots of this sort of theoretically developed or the some other things that sort of through the learning or through the social and cultural and theories and ideas, we can sort of reduce, even can correct it, right? But we cannot overcome the differences, which is forever will be there. For example, the size of the body, right? When you are born, you are just naturally taller than other, right? And well, that person is naturally be born as the shorter one. Some are physically just very masculine, very strong, very well built up, and others are not. So others, you know, the shape of the body is like this and then that. And so all these differences, you cannot really remove it. It's just naturally there. So therefore, acknowledge, accept this reality, then respond it accordingly. Okay? Respond accordingly and contact and react to and according to that particular individual's set of philosophy and personality and lifestyle and he or her the ideology. So acknowledge it and then respond to and according to the circumstances. So I believe that by doing these two things, right, and at the individual level, and we can overcome we will not involve the problems of created anything and to the sufferings of the racism. That's what I believe. No.
The Facebook na miji tiwa tangsha.
No so.
The lo wan chu gen la hoken na keju chisha na.
No so.
Yeah. The more deep chisha do. Can you there's one question from the Facebook streamer. Can you speak more about loving kindness toward those who have deeply hurt us?
Bonjour. 这个呢，大家说说了，那再看看没这个，他或没这个年纪那想法，我们当时就说的是。
근데 다 결정 지난 가랑도 강서 삼로 등 강서 직파점으로서 어느 느껴 말아. 강서 삼로 같이 라마타고 나지 인결고 참참한테 지금 저와도 샴빙고 요 참참한 셔당도 공동고 요 나 강터지 좀 코디 양한테 요자 디 양한테 좀좀 선비 전당 때라 때니 아니 라마메 왔지니 아니 가랑도 조지 친구 나서는 나도 이파시게는 아주 나그러 나는 아주 남서 컨트롤 미팅 가나서도 뭐처럼 미텔라 이파텔 컨트롤 사가면 미텔라 같이 컨트롤 사네 나 태한테 이파티 투아라지네 그때 말 미팅 하시거라지네 어느 미팅 시게는 미텔라 이파티랑 말 그런 미팅 퀄리티는 알 시갈 쓰고 대자다 미팅 퀄리티는 미팅 가르치네 컨트롤할 때 강내 용어에서 미팅 있잖아 셔당 느끼라고 근데 셔당 원에 지당 아주 컨트롤 공사 너진 탐치고 뭐네 갑자기 자산으로 라로다 셔당 마리 파트레스 마리 페런 거 그런 장한테 손 장한테 온 것들이 리가 있으면 그 요라티 온도 손들이 온잖아 같이나 강서 땅 그게 잡을지 토하이나 삼로 쪽으로 그 제당 강내 용어를 요모도 쓴거 장한테 용어 때자 딱 그냥 장한테 마리 파트 뭐시 온거 장한테를 이제 삼동 토하이나 어느 나라도 스티공이 그런 것이 강한 용도 그런 건데 레시자가 탑룸로 가는 때 나라도 지트 그래. 또마도 전는 나라도 계단 조바 검세다 덴디 카트빌라 조바 마고나 조바세야 때 대주 땅사 요 말. 하쇼고 나도로 강은로 태용도 델로 조금 지트와 탑룸도 땅 거로.
That's a wonderful question, and thank you for whoever asked brought up this. Yes, here what I think. So we here dealing with this human being. This problem is involved with a human being, right? A specific individual or group of individual, right? There are persons anyway. When you come into the person or issues, problems related to the issue, related to anything that's with a person or a group of person, either individually or collectively, here's the thing we have to think of. Is that person absolutely identical with his or her or their philosophy, their beliefs, right? We know that's a person and his mind or his thoughts, right? Could be under the influence of a particular thought, a particular feeling, a particular perception, and or any idea, and acting according to that very thought, that belief, that mind, right? That sense of in that particular given moment in the situation. So therefore, keep in mind that whoever acting whichever way, you like it or not like it, you must think that that is a person's belief. That is a person's idea is working. Okay? That's not the actual person itself. He or she, either wrong or right, acceptable or rejectable. He or she is now acting or is express his or her or their belief. Right? So that thought could be changed. It's not permanent. He or she or they doing such a thing because of under this particular circumstances. But when the circumstances are no longer there, cause of the conditions are no longer there, and they will be not the same person. So people often think that the person's idea, they can't differentiate between the person's thoughts and people's action and the people. So what I'm saying is we must remember that in our mind, that the person and his idea and his action is not absolutely identical, right? So this also reminds me about the Bodhicitta Avatara or Bodhisattva's guidance, and there's a famous quote and idea and the teaching by Shantideva, and he is saying that in the case of somebody who hit you, right, with a stick, right, with a stick. Okay, here you feel right, you feel pain and upon to right, get the beat a hit on your body. So now you become angry. Shantidev's argument is you should not be angry to that person, because that person is not the one who hit you. It's the stick. If you really want angry, you should angry that stick, right? Because the stick is the one, not the person. And you might say, no, that person who hit it, right? If that person, you stick argument, yes, that's correct. Okay, now think. That is not a person is actually beat you up, hit you. It's that person's hatred, right? The person's anger is the one who forced that person did such a thing. Okay? And then you further think, the person was angry, mad, and did so. It's not really actually his decider, because he is losing his very common good nature, and he is being forced by the ignorance. So he did that as expression of ignorance, and then the hatred or anger or mad, right? And then he did that. So don't you have a reason to be compassionate to that person? Because he's the one that suffered in the first place, way before he hit you, right? He's the victim himself right in the beginning. So I believe that yes, this is really, when you look in this way, and this profoundly from such a perspective. And then you know that anyone who express anything, either something is do you a favor or against you, at the body, with the physical body, verbally, or even mentally, and we really do have the reason to separate that person with his or her mind or their mind. And we know that they did so either you did you a favor or against you, is because they were forced by their own sets of philosophy, the sets of belief, their ideas, their thoughts. Right? If you think this way, you can separate the person from his mind, his thoughts, and his action, and then you can still accept the person, and then they will create the gap or room between you and them, or him or her. So then you can, the room, the space will make you very sincere and genuinely to be able to explain, right? Explain and what you think, how you think, right? And this is, of course, is more kind of direct and more yes. So it's involved the theory and required a great deal of understanding, and then you can respond to it right on the spot. And this is more sort of indirect, but it's directly, I would say, how you show the compassion, right, to those people. My understanding is here is practice tolerance and be patient, because now they hurt you, right? They make you so bad. This is the moment, this is the place where the compassion should be manifested and should be implemented, right? If you miss this chance, where are you going to practice compassion and tolerance? No way, right? So therefore, each time when there's bad things that happen, and because people will treat you so miserably, and then you must remember, now it's my chance to perfect my great perfection of tolerance. That's the more passive, but is direct.
I think is some ngarang the some lore sera. Channel the social no one wrote on Rokai on the no one wrote that they met in the Lalan tablet Yamsala. No one would like Gonda the Zazotics that the Tamayin starts.
So yes, this is my belief. This is how I think I would do, and of course, this is very profoundly controversial and deeply troubled in the topic, and you might disagree. And by no means I want to take my idea. No, I just put it up here and as a suggestion and let you think about it. And if you feel agreeable, and give it a try. If you disagree, and then just concerned that I didn't say it. And then, so this, I just wanted to say this much, and so.
I have a question. So in the book on page 53, one thing that's really interesting is that it speaks about how our own development is dependent on sentient beings, and it speaks about the sentient beings as being a field, and it says, likewise, having planted the potencies of love, compassion, the awakening mind, the 6 transcendent perfections, and the 4 means of amassing disciples in the field of sentient beings, if we look after them well, we'll give rise to the state of a fully awakened being. Sometimes I feel like we thought about the 6 perfections as something that we do, that's part of our practice to improve ourselves for the sake of others. But what's interesting here is that it speaks about planting the seeds of the 6 perfections in the field of sentient beings, which seems like it's a little bit more oriented towards almost like sharing perfections in some way with other sentient beings. And I'm wondering if Geshe-la can talk about how we plant the 6 perfections within other sentient beings or the community. For example, is there something that we do by practicing the 6 perfections that plants them in our communities and in other sentient beings?
Okay. The changing now, the make sentient na the wala. The chindua, marching by Shintu new doing you she the Shintu doing you did the value for Janice. Tony, check a show is to shed them compare. No, she didn't go on the 있으면 되네. 마용이나 여기신 산지치를 잡아라. 우리 동네인데 삼진 샴바닌지 신주기들이 오래됐는데 이거这些这个的这个不一样了。人要被那新的新吧沙文政府的你的会上讲吧是呢，当初让们中国通行，啥像让步了，这是这个但是3000之新了是3000新的这里，3000之新了，前年就想去新这个对于内部你是沙文政府的你是个话的呢。ne second samjeng gi shin la pha de ne samjeng gi shin la shen yin ji pha de se living in which tam shin tik ki sa mo de tel si da ma ne ta pa de ne par shin ba tricks ko de su ge je thola ji nyam lan ji go na ma de mo samjeng se ta dan din ve ji me na pha samjeng gi shin ge la pha de go su ji ji ne so ne su ji ko nyam lan ma yin ba an me la la ji na mo de shi ge ko du se din ba yin na and tanga ju ge su ge the rapport any the so ne sa ge ching che de demand bi chu kain na di na wo ne su de bi mi shi nyamlen shin dik de bi nge us ka shin dik nyamlen ching mi shi na ma ju khai lo yo ge le ka che yo
거기서 보래. 결정지나 신축이 냠는데 상주 세비 냠는데 정말 연dun이다. 랑dun나 제어말. 배나 연든 지용을 조랑도 쇼라 점도 타마 안에 사원 때문에 연라 판도 지용 판도 지위 려텔라 랑mom버 좀 상기로. 때 상기와 때디 려월라 때디 중거라. 그래서 소소 때 용거 때차다 안에 때 연든 지와라 레로 요말 깔에 하고 요르다 다 바로 심바 조바곰 고서 조바곰 파쇼네 에너지 선지가 오조 짐바 몽보 당당에 파쇼라베 요거진데 파쇼 요거지사 때그 소조 당당나라 때 짐바 당한테 로르기 올다 때 사통볼라니 미션도 생각이 로르기 어떻게 자 아니 신득세 바로라 땡고 배낭 가고 단다티나 사원나 정사 연도가 정사 정가 담딩하로 사원 바한데 그 요때 가 무길때 가르정아도 짐바 노동 이 저것도 가르정도 짐바 소소라티 저것도 배나 단다 상동 사원 살아 지금 때 칠 깔리 야게나 이마때는 네오톤이 정도사라고 어디 나중 가서 로아 삼천나 무비 형지도 삼반 형지 곰 상지 삼곰 바로도 심바트라 냠는지 용서 떼라 때니 소소나 타티기 네오토도 그랬어 소소 타티기 네오토소나 매면 핸드브리 롱진도 뭔가도 지고나 삼바담 기패 접트 바지 온 거도 파쇼 리기 보는 거 특강요나 때라 안에 미와요나 뒤선도 도와지기지네 어다 미와 맞지나 다 제요 말원 kum 어떠거라 미와 지나 뒤는 때디 잔도 제가 니와지 소소라 랩트 거 때자다 된 저와치 친구 요르지라 또 돈으로 또 라로
Well, first, I think one thing we have to remember is that what you point out here that the practice of the four ways of amazing disciple, right, such as giving, speaking, and pleasantly speaking pleasantly, and teaching and acting in accordance with the teaching, and also the 6 great perfections. And those practice are the practice of Bodhisattva. Okay. The individual, his name is Bodhisattva. So it's been carried out or undertaken by the individual who generated the bodhicitta, then there's no individual's interest at all. So individual concern is no longer relevant. There's no longer an individual. Whoever touched upon the 6 great perfection or implemented the 4 ways of amazing the disciple, and what it's doing is there's no self-interest. There's no self. It's just for others. And so this just for others, or acting for the sake of merely for the sake of others, is like planting the seeds in the rich field. This field, of course, at this point is a sentient being, right? So when you planting the seeds of great 4 ways of amazing the disciple and the six great perfections, you are wrapping up others. Right? And so you do that, isn't there's no any self-concern, but merely for the sake of others. This, I have to point out, this practice itself, without the self and then do it, is absolutely not an easy task. It's not an easy task. So it's definitely very challenging, especially for the novice, right? And in many stories and the cases, if you refer to the Buddha's previous lifetime and his practice of Bodhisattva, you know that many times he had to give his limbs, his body, right? Sacrifice his life, right? And so many times. And of course, this to give one's life and limbs and do such a dramatic sacrifice is not applied to the ordinary Bodhisattva or the novice, who I just said at the beginning. Has to be the Bodhisattva who achieved the higher bhumis, high levels of accomplishment, and then it's relevant for them, and then they are the one can do that. So therefore, and we know that when you implementing or carry out the practice of six great perfections and bring executed them or practice that in the community where you are or the environment in which you are living. And I would say this as a Bodhisattva's act, we have to know that this must be the Bodhisattva's act. And as a Bodhisattva's act is you start with by merely focus the benefits of others, and you continue and as a means for the merely for the sake of other beings benefits, and then you end your action, and again for the by the means of the means of the benefits of all the sentient beings. So this way is like planting the field and the seeds upon the field of all sentient beings, right? And through all kinds of by all kinds of means and skillful means, and up onto the greater perfection, then you become. And it started with difficult, challenging, and then go through some kind of some of the challenges, and eventually you will reach what we call as spontaneity. Okay? So you're still doing the you carry out the six great perfections, but your practice is become spontaneous. Right? And no longer need to make a great effort, working very hard, but it is spontaneous. And so yeah, this is practice of the planting the seeds of six great perfections by the means of the 4 ways of amazing disciple, is designated and is actually only relevant to those who generate the bodhicitta. Yeah.
I have a question. So kind of going back to the conversation on some of the current events, Geshe-la, I think already answered some of this, but I have more specific questions related to everything that's going on. So obviously there are people who are very vocal and active about equality and really standing with the African Americans, well, including myself. And then there are other people who are sort of more in the back of their actions, and it's gotten to a point where I think part of both parties are sort of getting to the more angry front, where one side is sort of criticizing on how others are supporting some of the violent actions, while the other party are criticizing them for not doing anything or saying anything about the issues of inequality. So I guess my question is, it's very easy for everyone to kind of be stuck in a position where we only see the other's actions and not really take into consideration why they're having these actions. So how do we approach these issues to make sure that both parties kind of take a step forward and to really try to understand what's going on and come up with a solution that would eventually have everything pieced down?
min fi jawa de ke la that in sang ne tang de che chengere ani shokha ni ge ani titula ngobo chitembo cha de yores and dang ga na una ti ni ti su ti paro la dang mas na de na china yo de be ni shu ani ngobo sa de yores ti dang ga nyam len da gi nyam se ba ti pang se be na se ani ma chu ka de che go re ka de che go re ani 昨天呢，告诉我们做给我国全部去看做给呢养老的年到卡卡的年度做，你就那个做亚美当当嘛，从这个他定位的了生困嘛这边的话，你到那边的话，在某些从个多少，你看这个读书呢，我国今年就做给这上班呢，的工作啊这个嘛知道啊，你样的就告诉我的。that milus nama tu kai na ngeu sila tenjo te ma wa ra wo sam tu as ni ta ni ma tu ro ta kandes jina ta ni sho ni ge ngobo che ba te ni shin du je ya ta ani tenjo zo yong ba ta te ni ngobo de ta ji ge kon zhen jia de sam jo jia la ba de jie
ate ni lenja kale ho ro 집당 안에 draw 감동 미와 로월 감동 미와 로와 사바당 미와 문tum바 자니 띠용 뭐 조조 내랑이 쉐르 베죠 당니 타니스만 주다 같이 모르스라 또마도 아니 다 타시도 뇌고를 늦지고 세다 뭐 참이 소소소소나 니트 인삼 다올마도 니트 노트인 삼는 뭐지요 말 소소 나 꼴찌기 잡스 바 꼴찌기 치던 건데 하고 오고던데 미베주 당던데 용스 바를 마도 지용고 뭐 참지 내가 처음에 게 인삼네 아니 뭐 어떻게 좀 됐다 소소도 인삼 거때 강 인자 알아도 조 아니 마르페 온거 양한테 소한자 띠 온거 진짜 리포트 미시와 세고르 미시와 세다 뭐죠 가면은 세트는 약속이죠 지치라 라트로 와이나 파쇼디 셈츠가르 쇼디 셈츠가르 군이때 노트 정나 노트 닌진지 데라테네 춤조 토와이나 지마 마옹 람카 페탄 버치고 미니나 베네 특파쇼라나 세런 특파주 임층가르 지마 하고서나 지마 때 지만이 되지나 고대 공로랑 되지나 고치지 대시되지나 약속들 상도 되나 니트시다 doesn't shit talking about that.
Well, you really challenged me because I don't think I'm qualified to give any advice in such a hotly debated issue, and because this is not just simply, is a moral, ethical, thing, but it involves many other aspects of the reality. I only can sort of share my understanding, and here is what I'm thinking. Essentially, we have to rely on our wisdom, okay? And the rational. We have to rely on wisdom and the rationality. And like I said before, we have no one point and one real aspect of reality of our existence is that we are absolutely same, no matter what. But at the same time, on the other hand, we are also very different. Okay? And we have to remember this and take it under our consideration and clearly apply this knowledge when we facing this kind of difficulties. And what I mean by depend on the wisdom use our apply the wisdom is that by no means, whenever when we how we decided to involve it or not involve it, I guess that the thing and wisdom means that we must avoid to fall in the two extremes, right? And not being absolutely one-sided, right? The truth is this, because when people are angry, right, and so mad and so angry, or in general, everybody, we know that they always will say, I am right, the truth is with me. Right? What I say is true. Right? Nobody will go do something and say, I'm wrong, I know, so therefore I'm still doing. No. Everybody will take their position is right, and the thinking what they're doing is right. So since two parties both say, or different individuals or groups, they say they are the one who knows the truth and they are doing the things that's right, but we in between sort of, or anyone who in between, and so, you cannot really jump into without a clear understanding. So my advice, the wisdom is, understand that when people say, I'm right and they're wrong, others say, no, we are right, they are wrong. And you have to know there are people who sincerely caring, and there are people who sincerely caring, but lack of clear understanding. There are people who sincerely caring, who clearly understanding, and who know what exactly they're doing. And there's an exception. There are politicians, bad politicians, and they use the opportunity, and then they're acting as if they also agree with whoever thinks, So therefore, we have to be aware of in the actual ground, and it's much more complicated than we think. And at the same time, we also know that everyone and doing something that's if it fell into the extreme, right? Extreme, and any side fell in extreme, we know that is because of they only responded due to the fail to consider the issue as a whole, okay, and look at from the whole the whole perspective. And but one thing I can say that we always can start with ourselves and encourage others. And so when the mistake is made, and we must know that that mistake has to be corrected, and either from a moral perspective or from a legal perspective, right? And socially and culturally and legally. So we have to correct the mistake. That's for sure. So this legalizing and legally correct mistake, or theoretically, morally correct mistake, and it has a greater merit, because then in the future, right, everybody will learn from the mistake, from the bad things, and to prevent the same thing happen again. Again, I'm not expert, and I don't know what's the right thing to say. It's just how I feel. Yeah. So now let's say the prayers.
We will say the Lamrim prayer on page number 80. Page number 80.
Yahweh Damba Yuran Zenjur Damba Renjen Choki Macho Cha Chanyam Berger Vishode Nyanje Jembo Yaro Chobai Ande de Savar Shepherd Senje Yahweh Majon La